Good evening. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Kettering City Council. Today's date is February 13th, 2024. And please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please bow your heads. Dear Lord, thank you for all who serve the Kettering community. Give us enthusiasm for our work and wisdom to make the right decisions. May we remain humble and grateful for the opportunity to lead. Guide this council so that we may continue to serve our citizens with integrity and purpose, always remembering to be worthy of the responsibilities entrusted in us by our residents. I'd like to recognize our Miami Valley Communications Council TV operator, Mike Saproni. Mike, thank you for your assistance. You grew about 2 feet. Somehow your hand's way up in the air. I don't know what you're doing back there. I'd like to call on Mrs. Fisher right now for a motion to approve the minutes.
Your Honor, I have reviewed both the council and workshop minutes for January the 23rd. I do find them in order, and I move for their approval.
Second.
Moved second. Okay, the motion has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Yes. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mayor Lehner?
Yes. We will, at this point here, receive an appointment for Partners for the Healthy Youth. We are appointing Stephanie Noel, term ending 12/31/26. And I'd ask for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, is there anyone opposed? Okay, seeing none. Congratulations, Stephanie. I don't know if you're here tonight, are you?
She is not.
She is not, okay. We now will have a proclamation from the Congenital Heart Defect Awareness Week. And I'd like to ask, who would like to read that one? Jackie?
Sure, ma'am. I would love to read it. I have a proclamation, whereas each year in the United States, more than 440,000 babies are born with congenital heart defects. And whereas the medical community has identified congenital heart defects as the leading cause of birth defect-related deaths. And whereas medical research can provide more identifiable means of the origins and symptoms of the congenital heart defects. And whereas there is no cure for congenital heart defects, and it is a lifelong disease requiring ongoing specialized care. And whereas fewer than 10% of adults with congenital heart diseases are receiving recommended care. And whereas it is crucial that families and those in the medical field have a greater understanding of the potential for congenital heart defects. Now, therefore, Peggy Lehner, Mayor, City of Kettering, does hereby proclaim February 7th through the 14th to be Congenital Heart Defect Awareness Week, signed by our mayor.
Okay, thank you. The proclamation is going to be accepted by Ann McCullough. Is Ann here? There she is up there. Come on down. We'll just give this to you, and you've heard the proclamation read. And you sent us a letter asking if we would do this. And you can't say no to kids. So, this is Tina. Dina. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
And that is your mom, and this is Judith. All right.
Excellent. Well, we
Step up
appreciate
to
it.
the podium, yeah.
Oh, boy, I get to
Yeah.
have a big voice.
You get to have a big voice, yeah.
Well, we would just like to thank Mayor Lehner and the City Council. We're very grateful to receive these words of proclamation from all of you. And we'd just like you to know that this proclamation brings more than just awareness to the prevalence of congenital heart defects, but will also bring hope to those who are navigating a new diagnosis, provide comfort to a family that has experienced a loss, and will also help patients of any age to feel seen and not alone. You've heard all the wonderful information that's included in the proclamation, so we truly appreciate being recognized today.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. We now have a presentation being made for the Martin Luther King Writing Contest winners. And Gwen Owen, who's chairperson of the Board of Community Relations, will be making the presentation this evening. Come on up through there.
Thank you. The Board of Community Relations is proud to present the winners of our Martin Luther King Jr. Essay Contest. We sponsor this contest every year to encourage students in middle and high school to reflect on the life and teachings of Martin Luther King Jr. and to think about what they could do to work toward more justice and understanding. For the first time this year, we invited students to submit a video entry or a written essay, and we received a total of 115 entries in the contest this
Wow.
year, so we were thrilled.
Huge.
I want to be sure to thank all of the teachers who encouraged their students to participate, and we have 3 winners tonight. So the first one that I will announce is our middle school essay winner, Eva Friedman.
Here.
The time is now 2024. This will be the year we end racial injustice.
Sorry, could you move a little closer to the microphone?
The time is now 2024. This will be the year we end racial injustice. There are many good people in our world, but there are just as many bad people as there are good. Many discriminate solely based on how one looks. The actions of one might be amazing. Picking up trash, helping the elderly cross the street, putting the cart back in the store parking lot. Anything counts. Try doing at least one thing once a week to make someone's life better, easier, or happier. To you, it's just grabbing papers off the printer for your coworker, but for the coworker, you just help them not be late to their meeting. Who inspires me the most when working toward making the world a better place is a difficult question to answer. It could be anyone. It's the actions a person takes that really make them a better person. Actions one can take are helping the teacher push in the chairs, helping a lady catch her dog who ran away, hanging posters on the wall at your local store, or even just using please and thank you. Any of these can and will help someone out and maybe just put a smile on their face. Taking just a small action can make a big difference and make you a better person, no matter your ethnicity. Race is no joke. Many people abuse the fact that their skin is slightly different from another. Many people use their skin color to get out of things. However, many people also use their skin color to stay away from things or people. This is not right. We should put an end to it. Do you agree? What can be done to fight racism and celebrate diversity? This has a simple answer. Many people look at a man or woman of color and think bad, or grab their purse or any bag and put it to their side. Instead, don't judge. Don't judge until you have a reason to. We can celebrate diversity by standing up or helping people of a different color or different race. It not only makes you feel like a better person, it also makes them feel like a better person, as they are not being discriminated against. Racism is not a joke. It should not be continued, and people should definitely not condone it. Together as a group, we can fight to end racism and celebrate diversity. I have never had an issue with this. However, I have had many friends who have. My friends were hurt that even the teacher used their race against them. They addressed this with the school principal and the counselor and got everything fixed up. From then on, nothing more was said This goes to show if you have a problem in school or anywhere else to speak up. Not everything you can fix on your own and need a little help. That is okay. If you or anyone else has been affected by this, you are not alone. It is okay to speak up and ask for help. Let's all work together and make 2024 our year, the year we end racial injustice. Not many people realize that not everyone looks the same, but our bodies are all made up the same. Yes, some skin tone is darker or lighter than others. However, that does not make them any different from anyone else. Our bodies look different from our hair, skin tone, eyes, ears, and mouth, but on the inside, we all have one heart. So 2024, can we do it? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, that was lovely. Gwen?
Okay, our high school essay winner is Cameron Liming. Yay.
Okay.
One of your students?
You must know her.
Good evening.
Be sure to get as close as you can to the microphone.
Got it.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I decided to do my essay about someone who inspires me to change the world. The person whose ideology and life's work pushed me to work towards bettering the world is Quaker suffragist Susan B. Anthony. Being born in the 19th century, she wasn't allowed to vote or have many of the luxuries I take for granted today. That didn't stop her. She worked her whole life for what she believed in, always having a goal that she was working towards, whether it be racism or gender. Susan B. Anthony was born on February 15th, 1820, into a Quaker household. Though they had strict religious beliefs, they were rather radical with their abolition work. Anthony's father was an abolitionist working towards ending slavery and getting African American rights. Anthony picked up on this and spent her life working towards bettering the situation for African Americans. She worked with famous abolitionists such as Frederick Douglass and William Lloyd Garrison to get the 14th and 15th Amendment passed. The other part of her work she was passionate about was her work with the suffragist movement. She was a pioneer of the movement, and alongside her lifelong friend Elizabeth Cady Stanton, worked religiously to get women to have more rights. She made speeches, peaceful marches, protests, and anything and everything she could do to make progress. She died in 1906, just 14 years short of her life's work coming to fruition with the passing of the 19th Amendment. She may not have been able to see how much of an impact she had, but her work towards women's rights is unmatched. Anthony's pure passion for what she believes in is what truly inspired me. I feel strongly about the difference in rights compared to the different groups of people based on either ethnicity or gender. I have been fortunate enough to not experience a lot of adversity, but I am aware of them. I read a book called Caste, The Origins of Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson, which opened my eyes to the horrible racial realities that I thought were left in the past. After reading the book, I decided to do more research about discrimination based on gender and race. The more I learned, the more I wanted to do. Around the same time, I learned about the things Anthony did for the causes that she believed in. It was the perfect time, and her actions pushed me to not sit idly by while problems exist. Susan B. Anthony's determination, perseverance, and passion for what she believed in inspired me to not just let the world be something I exist in. It challenges me to make the world one I would want to live in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Another great one.
And then our third winner is a video winner, so I believe we have that queued up and we can show that.
I hope so.
Our third winner is Brody Vanderwood.
Who was it?
Here we go.
Okay. So far, so good.
Hi. I did not prepare a speech,
That's all right.
but honestly, this video I made was for honestly extra credit, cause that was the assignment. I was not aware that this was like a contest, but I see that I won. Some of the imagery I put in my video was of, if I can remember correctly, cause gosh, I made it in November, I think. It involves, at the start of the video, it starts with protesting, separation, and like imagery. And then as the video progresses, people start coming together, and I'm sorry, I just didn't have anything prepared, but yeah, it's.
We'll watch it.
Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it really doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. I don't mind. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place. But I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the Lord. I have a dream. My four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted.
That was super.
Could I say something about the video?
You sure may.
You may have done it for extra credit, and I really, really hope you got that extra credit, because I really do. I was part of the judging, and everybody in that room loved that video. You did a spectacular job on that. All of you who won, obviously, were wonderful, and we're so glad you were here. Thank you. Thank you.
And that number, 104? Was it? 115.
Yes.
That's just awesome. Next year we'll make it 215. Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll now move on. We have no public hearings this evening. This is the time in the agenda that you may come forward and speak about any of the legislation that we're going to be considering this evening. You will have 5 minutes, and you are to address your concerns to the council. And there we go. That was it. Okay.
Just be quiet when you go downstairs, please.
Oh, I didn't notice our superintendent was there to watch. Hey, Mindy. Okay. All right. Anyway, each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. You must first state your name and your address. Comments should be addressed to council. If you have comments that are not about the legislation on tonight's agenda, there will be an opportunity for those to be heard later in the meeting. Is there anyone in the audience who did wish to address council tonight? Okay, not seeing anyone. We will move on, and we'll start with ordinances in first reading, and I will call on Mrs. Fisher Second reading, yeah.
Your Honor, I do have an ordinance to levy special assessments for the construction and repair of curbs, sidewalks, drive approaches, and related appurtenances for the 2022 Curb, Sidewalk, and Drive Approach Program. It is city project number 05-122. It's requested by our engineering department, and I move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded, and Steve, do you have some comments on it?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. As mentioned in the title, this ordinance will levy special assessments for the 2022 Curb, Sidewalk, and Drive Approach Repair Program. We've completed the public notice requirements, and the objection period has ended. We did not receive any objections for this program. Therefore, we are recommending approval.
Okay, any questions of Mr. Bergstresser? Okay, hearing none, please call the roll.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Sedif?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have an ordinance to levy special assessments for the construction and repair of curbs, sidewalks, drive approaches, and related appurtenances for the 2023 Curb, Sidewalk, and Drive Approach Program, city project number 05-123. This is requested by engineering, and I move for approval.
Second. Okay. Mr. Bergstresser?
Thank you, Your Honor. Similar to the previous ordinance in second reading, this one is for assessments for our 2023 Curb, Sidewalk, and Drive Approach Repair Program. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Sedif?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes. Okay, we have resolutions at this point, and the first one will be read by Mrs. Hall.
I do have a resolution, Madam Mayor, authorizing the city manager to purchase computers and servers from Dell to the annual computer and server replacement program. This is being requested by Administrative Systems. The estimated cost is $108,670, and that's also the amount budgeted. I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. This program, which is the annual program, it aims to replace approximately 20% of the city's existing computer fleet across all departments. This includes both laptop and desktop computers. We do this centralized replacement program so that we have a sustainable method to ensure employees are able to perform their jobs using modern, reliable technology, and we also enjoy a bulk purchasing discount through this program. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, are there any questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Sedif?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to accept a grant from the state of Ohio to assist with the purchase of body-worn cameras. Estimated cost, $216,576. That is the amount budgeted and is requested by the police department. I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Greason?
Yes, Your Honor. You'll recall late last year we invested in new body-worn cameras for the Kettering Police Department. We're pleased to report we've been awarded a grant from the state of Ohio in the amount, as stated, $216,576. Those grant funds will be used to offset the purchase of the body-worn cameras from Axon, which is our vendor.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Sedif?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher? Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution to authorize acceptance of a donation from American Legion Post 598 through the Kettering Police Foundation for the purchase of 4 automated external defibrillators. I can say that. Estimate cost $6,000, amount budgeted $0. This is being requested by the police department. I move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Greason?
Yes, Your Honor. I feel like every meeting we're reporting on or talking about a donation from the American Legion, and so we're so grateful for their support. They donated $6,000 to the Kettering Police Foundation for the department to use to purchase 4 AEDs, automated external defibrillators, and we'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher? Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the acceptance of a donation of 2 treadmills and a training system from the Kettering Police Foundation for use in the Kettering Police Department gym. The estimated cost of that donation is $6,700, not budgeted yet, and the request is by the police department. I move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Greason.
Your Honor, this is self-explanatory, and I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Okay, seeing none, call the roll.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher? Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing acceptance of a donation of cabinets and appliances from the Kettering Police Foundation for the use in the Kettering Public Safety Training Building. Estimated cost is $6,500. Amount budgeted $0 and is requested by the police department, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Greason.
Your Honor, be glad to answer any questions you guys may have about this.
We're getting shorter every time. And no questions? All right, call the roll.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to purchase Avon C50 gas masks for sworn personnel in Kettering Police Department. The estimated cost is $55,708.20. The amount budgeted is $68,200. It's requested by the police department, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Greason.
Yes, Your Honor. The current gas masks that the Kettering Police Department uses are outdated and some have become inoperable. We completed testing in 2023 on all masks, and we've identified a need to replace them. And the department did research on the highest quality or most highly recommended mask that we thought would best serve our officers, and identified the Avon C50. This will include a full kit with filters and case, which would normally be an additional purchase with other brands, and we're recommending approval of this purchase.
Okay, anyone have any questions? Okay, see none, call the roll.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher? Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into 1 or more agreements with Montgomery County and 26 Labs for an EDGE program funding award and an economic development incentive grant. This is being requested by the city manager's office. The estimated cost is $500,000 with no funds available. I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mrs. Shrimp.
Thank you, Mayor. This resolution tonight will authorize our city manager to enter into 1 or more agreements with Montgomery County and then the company, which is 26 Labs. This is for an EDGE grant, which the Board of County Commissioners for Montgomery County has already approved for our application on behalf of 26 Labs. In addition, we will have a City of Kettering incentive grant as well. The EDGE grant will assist the company with constructing SCIF space at Miami Valley Research Park. The total project cost is estimated to be about $3 million, but it will create 80 new jobs in the city with an estimated payroll of about $10 million. So with that, I will see if you have any questions for me.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, see none, call the roll.
Mrs. Hall? Yes. Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution to amend Resolution Number 10947-23 regarding an Economic Development Incentive Grant Agreement for improvements to 1713 Barney Avenue. This is requested by the Economic Development Manager. I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, any questions? Call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry. I left you out.
It's okay. It's a pretty self-explanatory resolution, Mayor. This legislation tonight will amend previous legislation which had a typo. The resolution tonight confirms a reimbursement grant for 50% of the eligible expenditures for the property owner at 1713 Barney Avenue. The maximum value of the grant does not change with this resolution. It will continue to be not to exceed $25,000. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Right. Do we have any questions? Okay, seeing none, call the roll.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher? Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mayor Laner?
Yes.
I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a facade and site improvement grant agreement for the property located at 3712 to 3716 Wilmington Pike. Estimated cost is $25,000. This is requested by Planning and Development Department, and I move for approval.
Second.
Hey, Mr. Greason.
Yes, Your Honor. As you know, we have a long-standing facade grant program that's aimed at improving the quality and character and competitiveness of our commercial properties in the Wilmington Pike corridor and other areas in the city. In this case, the property owner will make facade and site improvements to the property located at 3712 through 3716 Wilmington Pike, up to and not to exceed $25,000 from the city. The project in particular will make improvements to the Wilmington Family Dental property. Be glad to answer any questions you have.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, seeing none, call the roll.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher? Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a facade and site improvement grant agreement for the property located at 2440 Wilmington Pike. This is requested by the Planning and Development Department at an estimated cost of $25,000, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Greason.
Yes, Your Honor. Similarly, this is our facade and site improvement grant program. This is for 2440 Wilmington Pike. Again, up to and not to exceed a $25,000 contribution from the city to make landscaping and site improvements at the property, which is a renovated building and optometry office. Be glad to answer any questions you have.
Anyone have questions? Okay, call the roll.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher? Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the use of competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract for the executive search firm services. Estimated cost is $30,000, funds available. It is requested by the Human Resources Department, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Greason.
Yes, Your Honor. As you know, the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Director has submitted her intent to retire, and therefore we are going to need to conduct a search for her replacement, and are recommending that we use a qualified professional executive search firm to help fill this important position in our community. Be glad to answer any questions you have.
Anyone have any questions? I would just like to make a comment. This may be news to many of you, and everyone in this room has worked for and enjoyed Mary Beth Odell over the years. And I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more about the search to replace her, but I just wanted to comment on how much she will be missed. Go ahead and call the roll.
Mrs. Fisher? Yes. Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
No.
Ms. Duval?
In honor of Mary Beth and her way, I enthusiastically say yes.
Okay. Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution appointing Oakwood Mayor William D. Duncan to the Montgomery County 911 Program Review Committee pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 128.06A5. This is requested by the City Manager's Office, and I move for approval.
Second?
Okay, Mr. Greason.
Yes, Your Honor. Needs a little explanation. So the Ohio Revised Code mandates that each county in Ohio have a county-wide 911 program review committee. And Montgomery County has had one in place since the late 80s. However, the legislature passed a new bill, HB 33, last year that made a bunch of modifications to 911 issues, and included in that was it changed the composition of the review committee. The review committee has a municipal representative. That means all of the cities in Montgomery County pick a representative, and previously that position was filled by Oakwood City Manager Norbert Klopsch. Now the legislation requires that individual be an elected official rather than a staff member. And so Mayor Duncan of Oakwood has graciously agreed to serve representing essentially the Greater Dayton Mayors and Managers Association in all municipalities. We need to do this post haste because the committee needs a municipal representative and is meeting later this month.
Okay.
Be glad to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, see none, call the roll.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher? Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract for construction improvements to the Indian Riffle Park restroom facility. This is being requested by the Public Service Department. The cost and the amount budgeted are both $60,000.
Move for approval.
Move for approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. The 2024 Capital Improvement Program budget includes $60,000 to make improvements to the restroom facility at Indian Riffle Park. The proposed improvements include the painting of ceilings and walls, new epoxy flooring systems, and new toilet fixtures and partitions, and lighting, signage, and amenities. Additionally, and most importantly, it will include ADA improvements to the front approach and the interior spaces. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Okay, call the roll.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher? Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract for upgrades to the concession stand and entry booth at the Adventure Reef Water Park. Estimated cost $35,000. That is the amount budgeted and is requested by Public Service Department. I do move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. The 2024 CIP budget includes $35,000 to replace the concession stand windows with more accessible windows and improve security and operational efficiency for the staff at the entrance booth to the water park. So specifically within the budget, there is $15,000 for the concession stand window and $20,000 for the cashier entrance booth. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher? Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mayor Laner?
Yes.
I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to contract for the replacement of fixed orchestra seats within Fraze Pavilion. The estimated cost and amount budgeted are $30,000. This is requested by the Public Service Department. I move for approval.
Second.
Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. This year, we are budgeting $30,000 to replace several rows of existing seats within the Fraze Pavilion. The replacement of these seats will create parts to replace the broken seats throughout the remainder of the orchestra area since these seats are no longer being manufactured. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions? Okay, call the roll.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Suddiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher? Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to contract with Perfect Enterprise LLC for modifications to the existing lube piping system at the Vehicle Maintenance Center. The estimated cost is $55,000. It's requested by the Public Service Department, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. The lube system, so think oil changes, at the Vehicle Maintenance Center needs some rework as part of an efficiency improvement plan that we are implementing. And so therefore, we need to make these necessary improvements due to leaks within the system and also relocations. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Mr. Sudiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher? Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution authorizing the city manager to use competitive bargaining and negotiated quotes to purchase fitness equipment for the Kettering Rec Complex and the Kettering Fitness and Wellness Center. Estimated costs and funds available are $115,000. It is requested by Parks, Rec, and Cultural Arts Department, and I move for approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. Bergstresser.
Thank you, Your Honor. This one, like some of the others tonight, is fairly self-explanatory. This is $115,000 within our capital improvement program budget to purchase replacement fitness equipment at both the recreation complex and the Fitness and Wellness Center attached to Trent Arena. Be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Mrs. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Sudiff?
Yes.
Mayor Laner?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have a resolution to make supplemental appropriations for current expenses and other expenditures of the City of Kettering, State of Ohio, during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024. The estimated cost is $2,812,233.39. That's a net transfer. The amount budgeted is $0, and it is requested by the Finance Department. I move for approval.
Okay, Mr. Greason.
Yes, Your Honor, this may take a minute. So we have requests for supplemental appropriations that are related to the carryover of funding for various grants and specific projects from fiscal year 2023 to fiscal year 2024. And in many of these instances, these requests do not represent new spending, but are to move the appropriations from one fiscal year to the next. So in special grants and programs, we frequently accept grants for various programs, and the expenditures take place over the course of multiple years in order to accomplish the goals of the program. So there's a supplemental appropriation here for $2,283,973.90 to carry over the unspent balances. And I believe the table is reflected in your agenda package, but just to highlight it, it includes special grants and program funds from what we call our law enforcement grants, so our DUI task force grant, our police training grant, special grants and programs, sensory grants, $2,200, Phrase handicap grant, $1,408, Kettering Parks Foundation low income grant, $3,420 and change. Our pickleball grants, that's part of our project, $504,480.44. And the list goes on, and I'd be glad to answer any questions that you may have, but it's a variety of programs, the largest of which is carrying over CDBG funds, including CHIP funds, in our Community Development Division. These are important programs, and we need to continue them, and we need to appropriate the funds to accomplish their goals. Be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, hearing none, call the roll.
Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Ms. Duval?
Yes.
Mr. Sudiff?
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher? Mayor Laner?
Yes. Okay, that concludes our resolutions for this evening. We now will move on to ordinances in first reading, and there are none. So, Ms. Kaczynski, do we have any certifications or petitions?
Your Honor, we did not have any certifications or petitions this evening.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to the manager's report and community update.
Yes, Your Honor, before I go there, I wanted to make a clarification on the supplemental appropriation. In addition to carrying over the grant funds, the resolution also included the appropriations for all of the items, the supplemental appropriations for all of the items that you previously adopted in the agenda. So that included the Gentilly Park signage, the recruitment. Well, I'll just go through them. You had you had dollars for the first-time homebuyer assistance program from Planning and Development Department, carryover funding related to a police vehicle. Actually, that wasn't earlier in the evening. Gentilly Park signage, capital improvement funds for the West Avenue Bridge, the $30,000 you approved earlier in the evening for the recruitment services, the dollars you approved for the economic development agreement earlier in the evening for 26 Labs, as well as the facade grants and the donated items to the police department. My mistake that resolution also included those in addition to the carryover funds for of the grants.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks for that clarification. Let's see. Now we'll move on to your report.
So we want to always highlight our blood pressure clinics, and the dates and location of those blood pressure clinics are on the screen. We certainly encourage people to take advantage of these as we want to have a healthy community. Help us get the word out about what 3 words, this is a free app. It's an extra layer of protection. In an emergency, public safety can pinpoint a 911 caller no matter the circumstances using latitude and longitude accuracy. We encourage people to download this app, and I don't know if our police and fire representatives want to add anything about it.
It's just an extra layer of protection. Dispatch has the software in it. It'll pinpoint you down to 3 square foot from where you put on your phone or the device electronic you have, as long as you have connectivity or cellular service. So if you don't know your exact location, you can open up the app. It'll give you 3 words to communicate to our public safety dispatch center, and they can use those 3 words to pinpoint your location to 3 square feet. So they can send the appropriate response with that.
Hey.
It's Black History Month, and Kettering's Board of Community Relations encourages you to learn more about Black history and this month, as it's Kettering is home to all of us. The Board of Community Relations is seeking 1 adult and 1 youth member, and so we are accepting applications. People can scan the QR code to apply, or contact us on the information on the screen. I believe the deadline for that is March 1st. We wanted to note that we'll be closed Monday, February 19th in observation of the President's Day holiday. And we always like to highlight one of our great services that we provide our citizens, and that is the ability to get rid of their yard debris. Our yard debris center is open on Saturdays, except during icy or snowy conditions, which I'm against for the rest of the winter. And our winter hours are Saturdays 9 to 3 till March 2nd. I know everybody's looking forward to tax day. Your 2023 City of Kettering income tax return is due Monday, April 15th, 2024. Our staff, our excellent staff, is available to assist residents in preparing their taxes. They can call us at the number on the screen or visit the North Building at 3600 Schroyer Road. Our staff does a great job assisting people with filing with the City of Kettering. We encourage them to use our services. And I think it's important to note that the mayor's State of the City will be on February 27th.
Coming up.
We're already getting submittals for our Outstanding Volunteer Award. So this is the 41st year of the Mayor's Award for an Outstanding Volunteer. We do, as you know, a youth award and adult award. So we're accepting those applications until March 11th. We're doing an evaluation of 4 Cs for children, and I can't read that on the screen and don't have it in front of me, so the type is so small.
You want me to read it for you?
Yep.
Okay. The City of Kettering is planning a pilot program aimed at creating more in-home childcare
That's right.
options. A study by 4C for Children found that there are only a few state licensed residential child care sites in the city. An in-home, it's hard even for me to read. An in-home site is required to have an Ohio license to house more than 6 children. 4C for Children provides child care resources for 15 counties in Southwest Ohio. State-licensed in-home centers can accept publicly funded child care vouchers. City Council approved $100,000 in community development block grant funds to help create more sites while giving working families more child care options. Residents interested in becoming in-home licensed providers should contact Deb Camp at 937-723-2725. And I appreciate the chance to read that because it's an important program.
It is. So this is where last year you had used community development block grant funds to help fund this child care initiative and evaluate the needs in Kettering and try to expand in-home care. And I'm glad you read that because I couldn't read it on my paper or the screen. You have a better screen, and I appreciate that. That is the end of my report, and I appreciate the mayor's assistance there.
You're welcome. All right. Other business. This is your time to come and speak before City Council if you wish, and you can talk about anything you want. It doesn't have to be the legislation for the evening. Each speaker will have 5-minute limits. Speakers are asked to state their name and address. Is there anyone who would like to speak before City Council on anything you want? There's your opportunity. Nope, no one wants it. Okay, we'll hear City Council reports at this point. We'll start with Mrs. Fisher.
So, Your Honor, I had, a week ago, when the dinosaurs were in town at our convention center in Dayton, I went to pick up my grandson and told him that that's what we were going to do for the day. I was trying to coordinate some of the classes at the rec center also with my daughter, so we had our handy-dandy rec catalog out and, picking out the stuff. He then grabs the catalog and starts looking at it like he's going to pick his own classes out. He then sees a picture of a blue train. Did you know we have a blue train in Kettering at one of our parks? I didn't, but my grandson found it. No. We were not going to go see the dinosaurs that day. He had to go find the blue train. So we ended up at a cute little park on Doris, right behind our library. And there is a blue train. And so I was sharing with Mary Beth that that's a testimony, because my grandson gave up seeing the dinosaurs at the convention center just to visit a brand new park in Kettering. And I thought I knew where all of them were, and we've visited them all, but just goes to show you don't know what you don't know. So
it goes to show that Henry's personality.
Henry knows the parks. Henry knows the parks. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Thanks.
All right, my turn. I just wanted to say Saturday, I took my daughters, me and 3 other dads, took our daughters to the Sweetheart Dance event at the rec center, and it was great. They had a lot of fun, and Cameron Gamble, I hope I got her name right, was kind of running the show. She did a great job. The whole staff did a great job. So I just wanted to give them a shout out because they did a wonderful job. And then also Saturday, yes, it was Saturday, the Blueberry Cafe had their carry out. So we went up and got muffins that had Oreos in them, and my daughters are big fans of the Blueberry Cafe. So that's all from me.
I'll be very brief, just wanted to mention that we got this amazing transportation route going in Kettering, and thanks to the work of the last youth and family coordinator who kept advocating for it, and then some of us on council kept advocating for it. But if people don't know about it and don't write it, it's at risk of going away. And just want to encourage anyone who does listen and anyone who can share with family and friends that this public transportation, the circle that exists within Kettering is there, and please use it. It's wonderful, timely, clean, safe, effective public transportation. And I look forward to working with council on getting the word out about it, and the mayor's doing a great thing next month?
Soon.
She'll be writing it, okay, with several of us to get the word out. So that's a great example of getting the word out. And then the only other thing is just to say, early voting starts in 8 days. Please exercise your democratic right to vote. We have our election in about 35 days. And I will mention it 2 more times before March 19th.
That's it.
If you look at the calendar, I would be remiss if I didn't remind everybody that today is February 13th, which is Valentine's Day Eve. So I want to put a shout out to my better half, and the best thing that ever happened to me is my wife, Letty, and remind everybody, if you haven't already, for your significant other, we have restaurants and gift shops and florists in the city of Kettering, so you can shop Kettering for your significant other as well. Thank you. You know it.
I will be very brief. I just want to thank We Care Arts, Bridget's Path, Rotary, Dorwood, Kiwanis, Alpha Camp from the Sister Cities Committee, and the Sustainability Committee, who came for. Everyone participated in Service Day for the Leadership Academy this past week, and it was a great day as always. Thank you to the Dorwood Optimists for hosting us for lunch, although they did boo me a little as a member of Kiwanis, but that's okay. And the last thing, we have a Kettering Leadership Academy member in the audience. Hi, Sarah. That's all. Thank you.
Today is also Mardi Gras. Celebrate responsibly. It's over at midnight, so get it in. And if you didn't make reservations at Mama de Salvo's or Filio 2 weeks ago like I did, you may just have to wait in line tomorrow night, but I'll be seated comfortably at my table at Filio. I hope to see you all there. We'll be the happy ones that were seated quickly with reservations. Yeah, it's possible. The other thing I just want to mention, I want to echo the comments about the tax department. I am the guy who historically has run in there on April 15th with my papers in a wad and beg for help, and they've always been gracious. I mean, we're going on like 9 years. They just expect me at 8 a.m. on the 15th. I'll do better this year. But they are so gracious, and if you are concerned about filling out the paperwork and mailing it in, I'd urge you to stop by. Don't wait until April 15th. Stop by now. It takes 10 minutes, and the staff is top-notch, and they'll walk you through it, and you're out the door. You actually smile writing a check. I don't know how that happens, but they're capable of doing that. So don't wait till the 15th. And that's all I have. Yeah.
Thank you. And with no further business has come before tonight, I already took a bit of Mr. Greason's time, and I took a little bit over here. So with no further business to come before us, the city council meeting is adjourned. Our next meeting will be on February 27th, 2024, and we are adjourned.